What is fiction? For that, we turn to a good friend. I could introduce you to somebody who actually knows about these sort of things. Please welcome back to the KUSI airwaves, Brian Sunshine Sinclair. Oddly enough, it was the F-35 that brought you and I together.
Indeed.
I was going to be on the Carl Vinson to see its first tailhook testing, but the plane wasn't ready.
No show.
So we had to go to Plan B. You turned out to be a great Plan B.
Well, thank you.
Can I just introduce, we're going to bring up Sunshine's bio here, and this just screams real deal aviator, as you can see. The one that, I mean, and I'm only showing some of the stuff because your bio goes on forever and ever, but nearly 600 career carrier assisted landings. That says to me that.
And every one of them were different. I'll say that. Yep.
All right. So with your bona fides established, let's just get right to it. When you you saw some of those headlines and they go on forever.
Did.
React to those, please.
Yeah. So my first question is usually, what's the context or what's the rest of the story? So what I mean by that is a lot of things can be taken out of context, which makes for a good story. But the article specifically delineates 13 deficiencies. And when you think of deficiencies, you think of risks, right? And so with risks, you assess them as either having a probability or kind of a likelihood of occurrence, and also severity, or if it happens, how bad is it? So that probability and severity, I think, were a little overstated for all of the 13 deficiencies.
Well, we have some video of the plane in action. Some of the things that they were talking about, that limitations at speed, that if you're flying at a full throttle, the sealant peels off, which would remove your stealth ability, and also, more importantly, would injure the tail.
Yeah, so when it comes to speed limitations, you're absolutely correct. There are high and low speed limitations. So the high speed, they're talking about above Mach 1.3. So to me, that's a hard to understand number. So 30,000 feet, Mach 1 or speed of sound is about almost 680 miles an hour. 1.3 or 30% greater than that is going to be about 880 miles an hour. And there are some issues there. But I got to ask though, Paul, when you've got a pickup truck, right?
Right.
So would you feel comfortable going into the dealership and saying, hey, at 110 miles an hour, the thing rattles apart? No, but the truck can get there, right? But does it really live there? Do you hang out there?
Let me ask you that. When you've flown combat missions, how often are you at full throttle?
Oh yeah, so for air-to-air missions, it's going to be judicious use of full throttle or afterburner, because afterburner is honestly just dumping raw fuel into the exhaust of the engine. So it goes by very quickly, and if you run out of fun juice, you run out of time and you lose the mission. So it's very judicious use, both for offensive and defensive maneuvers.
So when people talk about tactical limitations, can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so what they're mentioning here is any kind of hindrance to efficient mission success. And so the planes, they're designed, they're turned over to guys like I used to be, the test pilots, and it's our job to explore the limitations and see if there are acceptable workarounds, is the buzz term we use. So hey, can the mission still get done safely and effectively, but maybe not as elegantly as the engineers had designed for originally? And that's the case. So a lot of these limitations of which they speak in the article, they have acceptable workarounds. So they're not as elegant, but the pilots can still get the job done.
Isn't part of the problem in just that the plane was designed to be all things to all people? I mean, it was never really supposed to be the dogfighter in the Top Gun sense, was it?
No, it wasn't. You're absolutely correct. So the original design philosophy was it was supposed to complement the F-22, which is the Air Force's highly maneuverable dual-engine vector thrust air superiority fighter. And it does a great job of complementing that role. So it's got its stealth capabilities and something we call sensor fusion. So that's going to be collecting data and then disseminating it to the right people at the right time to effectively engage the air picture.
So when you read some pilots' names, some not named, that are bagging on the F-35, you say?
I want to hear the rest of the story. So those guys, sometimes they're taken out of context. They might have had a bad day. But you know what? It does make for a good story, so I can't blame them there.
All right, let's just quickly, game-changing plane, true or false?
True. Absolutely. September 2018, the Marine Corps implemented it off of the USS Essex into our current theaters, if you will, and it was fantastic. And it replaced the obsolete and antiquated, I would call it, the AV-8B Harrier. So yes, it's a game changer for different reasons, for different services.
All right, we have 45 seconds left. I want to try to get both these topics. Just switching gears ever so slightly as it relates to the F-35. The Trump administration shut down the sale to Turkey. Good idea, bad idea?
Good call. Turkey's entertaining the purchase of the S-400 Russian anti-air defense system. So imagine a country, not the U.S., buying a NATO plane and having a non-NATO surface-to-air missile system. Well, they're going to do some experimenting. They're going to discover vulnerabilities. How important are those vulnerabilities to everybody that bought the plane?
So we don't want to give over our baby to...
I would rather disappoint Turkey than disappoint the joint partners, or the partners, the other nations.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And it's going to be almost a year ago today that I was sitting
Yeah.
inside a hangar bay watching you give your eloquent retirement speech.
It was.
As we look at these pictures again, your first retirement ceremony I've ever been to where the honoree flew in. This is you. Have you been in the cockpit since then?
Sadly, no. Sadly, no.
So, could you just talk about life as a retired fighter pilot?
Love it. So focus on the family, get to walk my girls to school, work out of the house, consult for the Navy on things I did while in uniform. So it's a very good solution right now.
Sunshine, I suspect this is just the first of many conversations that we're going to have as it relates to military aviation. Thank you for making time.